helpful.
Okay, so I guess we're just going to wait for a bit, and then once everyone has kind of joined us, we'll get started. Also, I want to apologize for this camera angle. Unfortunately, it's a built-in camera on my computer, so I can't do much about it.
Hi, yeah, so we're just waiting a couple more minutes because people are still joining the MS team, so I have to let them all in manually, and then we'll start in a couple of minutes. Okay, so I think that's everyone who wanted to join in. If anybody else is still coming, I'll just add them in as we go. But I think we can just start now if you're ready.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to try and get the slides back up, and just give me a few moments with that, and we'll get going. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yep.
Even right now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, welcome everyone. My name is Shahzaman. For all of you who know me, and for all of you who don't, my name is Shahzaman Ganai, and I graduated last year, July 2019, from the faculty. Uh, sorry to cut off in between. Dharanpreet, I was just thinking the video is not showing, and I can't do the video whilst I'm sharing. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a bit whilst I introduce myself.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, like I was saying, I graduated last year, July 2019, and I've been here in the UK. I've been in the country on and off, trying to do the exams and get them done and start working. And it's been quite long, and we've all been trying to manage through this COVID situation. I'm pretty sure everyone is also kind of frustrated, but it is what it is, and we have to power through. Okay. So I'm going to start the presentation now, and hopefully it won't take too long. We'll try and keep it to up to an hour, maybe shorter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick Q&A afterwards. So at any point during the presentation, if anyone has any questions, just drop them in. Dharanpreet is going to note them down, and then we'll come back to discussing them. Okay? All right. Okay, so for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to cut the video, my video, and then just be showing you guys the slides. Okay, so just bear with me whilst I get this going. Okay. Can you see the slides? Just
Yep.
awesome, great. Okay, so welcome to PLAB and the future as doctors after PLAB. What I'm going to do is
Hi, sorry,
I'm going.
Shaz, could you just try turning your mic off and on again? A couple of people have messaged me saying there's quite a lot of feedback. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me? Is it clear?
Slightly.
What about now?
Yeah, that is. Thank you.
Okay, okay. All right, so like I was saying, I'm going to take you through the presentation, and I'm going to do it in 5 different parts. As you can see, there's going to be the introduction, and then I'm going to speak a bit about what different kind of jobs there are available in the NHS for everyone, including the IMGs. Then I'm going to talk about the exam and how to get registered and what it kind of means once you are registered. And then I'm going to try to put it all together in the form of a timeline, so that people, especially in the final year, kind of understand what they need to be doing, and people before that have an idea of what they need to get started on. And finally, I'm going to talk to you about the CV. in regards to the CV, I know people have asked particular things. I'm going to try and cut it short because, as I said, we're going to only try and do this for under an hour. So I'm going to be very specific about what you kind of need to do for your CV. Okay. So, like I said, my name is Shahzaman. I graduated last year, and once I graduated July last year, 2019, and once I graduated, I came to the UK. I was in the UK from August until December, and in August and a good bit of October, I kind of was really busy trying to get my clinical attachment sorted. I did my clinical attachment at King's from October, November, December, so almost 3 months. I was the designation they gave me was clinical elective fellow with the trauma and acute surgical team at King's. So it was really fun. Kind of learned a lot. And the purpose of these attachments is to kind of understand the system and also get acquainted with your teams and make a rapport with the consultants so that they can be your references. Okay, so after the clinical attachment, I gave my exam. I left the UK actually first, and then I came back and I gave my exam in March. I passed the exam, and then I was stuck here because of Corona. All the international travels kind of stopped. And then I gave my second exam recently. And now I plan on leaving the country at some point soon. Okay. So if you guys, I'm just going to say this now. Like I said, this is going to be a short seminar. So if you guys have any questions in the future, you can always look me up on Instagram and drop me a message there, and I'll be able to get back to you. Any concerns that you people might have. So feel free to drop me a message. My Instagram handle is up on the slide, as you can see. All right. So coming to the next question, which is why is now the right time for IMGs to go to the UK? So I just want to kind of differentiate what Europeans who call themselves IMGs are and what IMGs in terms of foreign IMGs is, because these are a bit different. European graduates don't have to deal with the visas, so they don't have to deal with the technicality. So that kind of puts us a bit behind. But nonetheless, once you're done with the formalities, you can just move on. The difference being that the IMGs that the foreign IMGs have to think about moving from your visit visa to your work visa, and we have to think about getting a letter of sponsorship once we have an offer, and moving on from getting the sponsorship to getting the work visa. And I'm going to talk about the work visa as well, because there have been a few changes in regards to the work visa recently here in the UK. Okay, so why is now the best time for IMGs to work in the UK is because there's a big difference from a few years before, especially now because in the UK they've removed, the government has removed the right to work, which used to give the Europeans and the British the right to work ahead of foreign grads. Okay, this was also mentioned on Oriel. I'm hoping a lot of you know what Oriel is. If you don't, just quickly, it's the official platform which is used by the UK FPO and a lot of the training programs here in the UK to cater to the applications for the training programs. So it was also mentioned on your Oriel, okay, and on the GMC website when the right to work was removed, okay, and once this right to work was removed, all the medical jobs were moved onto the UK shortage occupation list, which was updated on October 2019. And a result of this change, all medical jobs were placed on the shortage occupation list, and this meant that doctors from overseas would be considered equally amongst UK doctors when applying for medical jobs. So a lot of opportunities opened up, and that's why the competition from abroad has drastically increased. Back in 2012, the number of people applying to the UK was just around 2,000 to 3,000 people applicants per year. Now it's up around 12 to 13,000, so it's almost 10 times an increase. Okay. So yeah, this change was very quickly reflected in rules for application to specialty training as well. And like I said, it opened many doors. Doors for specialties like surgery and radiology, where the competition ratio was nearly to 4 and 5 respectively. That's per seat. But in terms of the UKFPO, which is the foundation training program, was a bit slow on mentioning how this change would be incorporated into the F1 applications. But nonetheless, they incorporated into the UKFPO as well. And now even foreign doctors can apply into the UKFPO as compared to before. When I graduated, this wasn't there, so I couldn't apply back then. Okay. All right. In regards to the next point, we got feedback as to what our degrees are and what it means when applying to the UK. When you graduate from Charles, you have a lot of the. I'm going to speak in terms of the European graduates. You'll see and learn from them that they all have the right to apply with full registration. And there are two types of this: provisional registration, which F1s have, and there's full registration, which F2s have. Once we graduate with a full registration. That means we are effectively able to apply at the level of F2. Our degrees that we get from Charles, which is the MUDR, equivalent to the MD, or literally meaning MD, is not the same equivalent to the MD that people get in India, which is a postgraduate qualification. I'm addressing this question specifically because I heard that it was something that was asked. That MD post qualification that you get in India is a postgraduate qualification kind of similar to the MRCP and MRCS. Only difference being that MRCP, MRCS is given at multiple occasions throughout your training until you finish the last one towards the end, the last exam towards the end of your training, and you become a fellow of that specialty, i.e. MRCP or MRCS. So the next thing I want to kind of talk about and target was how specialty trainings are done. What's the difference and how the specialty training works. I'm going to talk about Europe, Ireland. I don't have and India. I'm going to go to the next slide, and you'll be able to understand a bit better what I mean. The reason I'm comparing Europe, Ireland, India, and some Commonwealth countries is so that you have an understanding and a proper idea of being able to make a plan for your future. So the red one on the right top that's the UK training scheme. People graduate with undergraduate degrees, and they move on to the foundation training, which is 2 years. And then they can either move on to core training, or they move on to run-through training. Run-through training is training that you get for very specific specialties. For example, ophthalmology, OBGYN, and a few others, etc. Core training you get for quite a few specialties. You can have IMT, which is internal medical training. You can have ACCS, which is acute core care STEM. Um, you can have core surgical training, or and once you do these, you do them for a year or two, and then you move on to the specialty training. So if you're doing core surgical training, after that you can after the 2 years you can choose to do specialty training in, for example, GI, upper GI, lower GI. You can choose to do vascular, something like that. Same goes for IMT. Once you do IMT, you can after that choose to do um, cardiology, diabetes, endocrine, etc., etc. The closest comparison to the UK training program is the Irish training program. Um, uh, the only difference is it has a shorter foundation training year, which they just call the internship year. It's only 1 year, and a lot of people cannot apply for this. A heads up right now, so that a lot of the people, foreigners know this, is that once you graduate from Prague, you can directly apply for an Irish registration, unlike the UK. With the Irish registration, you can then start working in Ireland straight away, but you cannot apply for internship years because internship year is they have a specific allocated number. They don't give out internship positions to everyone. You can apply as an SHO, and then from there, once you work for a year or two, you can apply into either basic specialty training or streamlined specialty training. So yeah, that's the closest kind of training you have to the UK. Then the one on the left, as you can see, it's vertically present. This is Australia's, which is also very similar. The reason I have Australia's here is so that the foreign IMGs are aware of the fact that once you've worked, because of the fact you've done PLAB, and then once you've worked in the UK for 2 years, you can go to Australia and work without the need of giving their exams. So that is another option you have available. Okay. Obviously, it's still hard to get into training, but nonetheless, you can still go there and work. And I know people who have done this, and I have met a lot of people here who have done this. This training program is quite similar. Obviously, you won't get into an intern program or a resident program. What you will most probably do is, once you go there, you will work these either locum jobs, trust grade jobs. This is something I'll talk about in a bit as well. You'll be able to work at these positions for some time. Once you have kind of garnered your skills and shown that you've had experience in the system for some time, obviously you'll be signing off stuff, getting your assessments cleared, getting your assessments checked off the bucket list. Then you can apply into their specialty training. So like I was saying, the specialty training over there consists of the intern year, the resident year, then you either go into senior resident, so specialty training, or GP register, which is also specialty training. So the one thing is, if people are looking forward to being GPs, in all three training systems, it's the shortest training you can get. In the UK, GP training after your foundation years is 3 years. In Ireland, it's 3 to 4 years. And in Australia, it's 3 to 5 years. So it's the shortest training you can do. Okay. So on the top, I couldn't find anything in terms of like a flow diagram that showed training in Germany, but I put a link up on the top. You guys can read, go put that link down, copy that link down on the URL, and then go through it, read it. I have friends who graduated with me and are now in Germany. I've been in touch with them, and they have also told me how Germany kind of works. You'll be able to understand the training system in Germany a bit better, unlike these Western or Commonwealth kind of education training pathways. It's a bit more straightforward here in the European system. You go straight into the specialty training without having to do the foundation years. Okay. So I hope everyone is following me. Are we getting any questions? Tarunpreet, any?
We haven't got any yet. I think people might start putting them in towards the end.
Oh,
but feel free to drop your questions in.
Yes, just and if people think I'm going too fast, please let Tarunpreet know so that she can let me know. People think that there is something unclear, please just let us know so that I can address that issue. Okay. All right. So coming on to UKFPO, standalone, and trust grade jobs. There are many different jobs in the UK. The jobs can be either training associated, which usually when you go onto the websites, they will be presented as LATs, locum appointed to training. Or they will not be trust grade jobs and they will present as LAS, locum appointed to service, i.e. trust grade jobs. I want you to make sure that you understand that when I say locum, it doesn't mean these are locum jobs. When people say locum colloquially means those jobs are kind of part-time jobs. And I will explain what that kind of means towards the end of this slide. Okay, so the UKFPO is the official training program for foundation years 1 and 2. You apply through Oriel, and once you put in the application, you get selected for the rotation, for your rotations for 2 years. There is some assessment that happens towards the end of F1. You get a certificate and you get your competencies assessed, and then you move on. So there can be some changes there. You can decide whether you want to do the rotation or not in F2, but that's obviously a whole other talk. So I'm not going to go into that now. Well, but please don't expect that once you have, for example, your 6th year is finishing, and in August you can start UKFPO, because that won't be possible for foreign IMGs. You'll still have the gap year, and you'll be able to apply later on.
Shaz, sorry, do you mind if you could talk up a little bit or a little bit closer to the mic? A couple of people have messaged me for drifting again.
Okay. How about now?
I think that's a bit better. Maybe if you can just talk a bit louder, sorry.
Sure, no worries.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was saying the UKFPO, people can apply, but please don't expect that you'd be able to start in August straight away once you're done. You'll still have the gap year and you'll be able to apply the year after in August. Application is through Oriel. Please take into account the last line that says there are separate sets of exams that you will have to do alongside the PLAB, which is true, because the UKFPO will be also doing the situational judgment test, the SJTs, and also the CSA, which is the clinical scenario assessment. So they will be doing those separately to your PLABs. So once you put the application in on the UKFPO website, they will ask you, oh, do you have GMC registration, which means do you have the PLABs? You will be able to tell them, I have either given 1 or 2, and if you've given 1, then you'll be able to tell them the next result for the next one I can give you later. You'll be communicating with them back and forth through email on that subject. But that's a whole other topic that can be talked about. Moving on, standalone. So standalone, these are the jobs that are left over after people have applied to the UKFPO. The UKFPO has all the good rotations. The UK is all about having balance. If you have a decent amount of rotation, different specialties throughout your foundation years, the likelihood of you getting chosen into a specialty that you like is much more higher comparatively. For example, if you want to apply to a specialty, and the only thing you've done is surgery throughout your F1 and F2, and you want to do surgery in your specialty, the likelihood of you getting into surgical specialty training is very low, because there are criterias for that are present, and these can also be seen on the NHS specialty career and specialty website, the criterias for these. So yeah, so standalone is the rotations that are left over after people have chosen their rotations on UKFPO. These usually tend to be not well balanced, but they're not that bad. So like I've heard of people having decent balance of rotation. Some people have had, for example, surgery for 6 months, psychiatry for 6 months, or surgery for medicine or elderly care, something like that, for 3 months, and medicine for 3 months, and another thing for 3 months. So sometimes you can get lucky and you'll be able to find really decent rotations. Keep in mind that standalone F1 was removed in 2000 after 2008. So when I was in 6th year, there was no standalone F1. The year before me, people had applied for standalone F1, but in my year there was no standalone F1, and there was only standalone F2. So this is the application that you will see a lot of your European counterparts and colleagues apply to during their Jan and Feb around PEDS time period. This is what they'll be applying for. They apply for the F2 position, and once they submit their application in, the CVs get analyzed, and they get accredited points for different things. Then they get shortlisted and they get called over at the interview, and then it's you get ranked based on how you do on the interview. Once you get ranked, you get preferences for locations, and if you get the job, then you can start in August. I know a few people who have been able to do that, and they've been able to start as F2s in August. So the reason I put this here is because you will also be able to apply not in your 6th year, but obviously through your during your gap year, which I'll talk about later during the timelines. Finally, moving on to trust grade jobs. So these are non-training jobs. These are the LAS. They're not locum jobs. They're still contracted jobs. What I mean by contracted jobs is, once you come into the UK and have GMC registration, you will sign up on NHS websites, NHS jobs, and there are different NHS jobs. There's NHS jobs for England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, but I don't think it's called NHS jobs. I think it's called something else for Northern Ireland. I'm not sure. We'll have to look that up. And obviously, like I said, you guys can hit me up on Instagram if you need that clarified. So yeah, so you will go onto these websites, and a lot of the jobs there will be training these trust grade jobs. These are contracted jobs for 3 months, 6 months, a year. Obviously, if you're applying, you want to apply for the year-long one, because visa problems, right? You need to think about that, because once you apply for a year-long job, you don't want to get back into the process of applying for a visa again, because you can imagine, let's say you have a 6-month job. So as soon as you start, you need to also start with the visa stuff, because you need to start looking for a job so that you can extend your visa, right? That's something you have to take into consideration. So you always want to have a longer period job. So if you're applying for F1, you want to apply for a 1-year job in F1, or if you're applying for F2, you want to apply for a 1-year job in F2. Sometimes there are jobs that are even longer, for longer periods of time. But I think those jobs usually tend to be of higher levels, maybe F2 above, sometimes F2. Okay. So yeah, these are non-training jobs, contracted. You get put on a rota, you get the same rota pay, you get the same rota schedules, you get nights, long days, short days, twilight shifts, etc., and so on. Moving on, there are locum jobs. Locum jobs are not the same thing. Locum jobs are jobs that you do part-time. These are shifts that you pick up when different hospitals have short-staffed and they need people. Locum jobs are paid at a higher rate. As an F1 or an F2, if you're doing a locum, you can be paid up to £45 an hour to £55 an hour. So people usually when they're short of cash, they do a locum shift every now and then, 1 or 2, 8 hours, £55. You get decent amount of cash. Okay. Okay, I see there are a few questions. Like I said, we'll come back to those towards the end. Okay, noted your question, Abdullah. All right. Moving on. So, like I said, I hope everything was clear up to that point, like at least a majority of that was clear up to that point. Parentpreet, any complaints? Anything? No? Okay. All right. So PLAB and registration. So this is going to be quick. PLAB, once you do the 2 exams, you apply for registration. Registration fees is I think around 150 pounds or something like that. You'll be able to do it directly online from your GMC online account. Okay. Once you have your registration, it should take around 2-3 weeks. I'm not sure with the COVID thing. I know back before COVID, it would take around 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not sure with COVID. So once you have your GMC registration, you make your NHS jobs profile. I made my NHS jobs profile in 6th year. I think even before 6th year, because I keep on getting messages about what jobs are available. And as soon as I made my profile, once you have your GMC registration, you'll be able to update it with your GMC registration number and your CV. And you'll be able to send your application in. You'll be able to send your application in to a varied amount of hospitals. I think I might be, actually, we'll leave that for later. If possible, I might show you guys towards the end a screen share of my email, which has because I have one email just for jobs, and it has so many email after email from different NHS websites of jobs that are vacant. So you keep on getting those emails once you're registered with NHS jobs. So once you apply, you send your application in to these different hospitals for the vacancies. They will call you in for an interview. You go in for the interview, do the interview. You do well in the interview, they give you the job offer. Once they give you the job offer, you need to obviously do your due diligence with the offer, make sure that you're okay with the pay, blah, blah, blah. Then you need to make sure you ask for a COS, which is certificate of sponsorship. Okay. They need to give you the sponsorship. You will take the sponsorship, go to the Home Office, tell them about that you have the sponsorship, and you will apply for the work visa. The work visa was the tier 2 work visa, at least until when was it? Very recently, I think it was August this year. So with Brexit and everything, and the new Home Office Minister, Secretary Priti Patel, a lot of things have been changing. They changed the doctor's requirement of the tier 2 work visa to something called the health and care visa. The health and care visa has been put in place. I will be speaking about that as well. Is it here? No. Okay. Let me just check. Okay, so yeah, the health and care visa I'll be speaking about as well. It's a visa that is cheaper, and your application is expedited in that, because, like I said, all the medical jobs have been put on the shortage occupation list. Um, there have many benefits from the health and care visa. So you will give them the certificate of sponsorship. They will expedite your process through the health and care pathway, and you will get the health and care visa that gives you the right to start working here. And you just need to make sure this all kind of is in line with your start date when you start working at the hospital. So you have to be in constant contact with the HR department, let them know what's going on, what's happening. Okay. So moving on to what you need for the GMC registration. So you will, once you go for registration, they will ask you about your degree. So you will have to show them your medical degree. Towards the end of this year, you will be getting your degree notarized, and I got it notarized from the health, the Ministry of Education, as well as the Health Ministry. I think like there was a package that there was a company that Yitka gives or recommends. I just used them, and they did everything. It cost a bit. It cost quite a bit, but you get it all notarized and translated, and it's ready for you. And then when I came to the UK, I got it notarized again, just to make just to be double sure, especially because I had to send it to Ireland to get my Irish registration as well. A proof of English proficiency. This is the fact that you have IELTS score. Your IELTS score for many different things have the score required is different for different things. It's different for your visa. It's different for your application to the GMC. It's different to your application for UKFPO and the training pathways. Then it says proof of clinical skills and knowledge. This you can do multiple ways. Here, this is how you prove your clinical skills and knowledge. You either do it through the PLAB, which is the most common way people do it, or you do it through MRCP, MRCS, or MRCOG, or you do it through sponsorship by an approved GMC sponsor. I have put the list, the link right below there for the list. Just to let you guys know, I know people, want the information straight up from people who've experienced this, but at any point, if you're very unsure, the best way to get any information about any of this is just to head to the websites directly. So the GMC website, the NHS website, the UKFPO website, and yeah, I think that's it. The UKFPO website is separate to the ORIEL website. These are two different websites, just so that you know. And the last but not least is the CESR, which is the Certificate of Eligibility for Specialty Register. So a lot of the people who come from India who have like already finished their post-graduation, they come here and or they're able to find a qualified doctor who has the right to give them this certificate. Usually those doctors as well have a GMC registration or something like that. They get these eligibility certificates and they come here and they show these, and it has to be accredited first via GMC, and then they can apply for through the whole specialty training. But like I said, the most common way to prove your clinical skills and knowledge is through PLAB. When I was talking about proof of English proficiency, I was talking about the IELTS and the OET. The IELTS and the OET are two different exams. I gave the IELTS. I gave the IELTS twice, once in my fourth year because I needed it for my placement, which was in between fifth and sixth year. And then I needed it again for my GMC for applying for the PLAB. IELTS is cheaper but harder. OET is more expensive but easier to some extent, because it is a career specific, or to be more exact, it is like professional specific. So they have medical professional exams. They have exams for lawyers, for engineers, so on and so forth. So it's very specific. IELTS is general. They will make you write an essay about a random topic like business and Brexit. And if you don't know much about it, well, you can understand how it goes. So you can see the points here. Back when I was when I had given the IELTS was the only thing accepted. The OET was not accepted for a majority of things. The IELTS was the only thing that was accepted. Now the OET has been accepted for a lot of things. The IELTS requirement for like I said this previously, IELTS requirement, the score requirement for example, GMC registration is different in comparison to the training programs. For GMC registration, you need a 7 in all domains, and I think a 7.5 in total. Whereas for UKFPO, you need a 7.5 in each domain and an 8 in total, or a 7 or 0.5. Yes, I think 7.5 overall. So it's the reason I said IELTS is hard is because I didn't get the required 7.5 in writing. It was, and I gave it twice, and I got the same score both the times, like exactly the same. I got an overall of 8.5 with a writing of 7. So it's like I said, the writing is on random topics, so it can be a bit complicated. But the OET, you need a 350 in most of in like all the sections, and overall same, I guess. And then you give the OET, and it's been accepted now for both UKFPO as well as the GMC registration. But the UKFPO standards are higher. You need a 400 in all sections. For anyone who is giving the IELTS, you have to know that you have to give the academic IELTS and not the general IELTS. And I would suggest you give the academics UKVI IELTS, which is different. I don't know why it's like that, but it's different. Because if you give the normal academic IELTS, then you go in for the visa, they will be like, oh, we need you to take the IELTS again for the UKVI, and you'll be like, why? But you still need to do it. So keep that in mind, please. Also, if you can see this picture, this I got from the Savvy IMG. I have had a lot of people who have guided me through this process, some seniors from our uni, but I've also been using their website, the Savvy IMG. It helps. They have a lot of good, important information up there. So in case at any point you feel like, oh, I need to understand something better, you can always try and search on their website. Okay, so I can see there is a bit more. There's another question. We will come back to that towards the end. Okay. Actually, I think I will just answer this. What is proof of acceptable internship? So our all medical degrees, all medical training programs, education programs, there's a World Medical Directory, and the GMC has like a copy of that medical directory. So when you make your GMC online account, you will enter your faculty and your university, and they will tell you, they will know exactly that your degree is considered as that having an internship. That's why you get full registration. Okay, I hope that answers the question. So that's why I also have the plus minus proof, plus minus sign at the beginning, because this usually is more for the people who come from India, Pakistan, so on and so forth. Some people applying from like Southeast Asia or Afghanistan or these places. Valid passport, and then last but not least, 5-year record of your activity since you graduated. So this is actually since you graduated. The 5-year record says if you have a lot more experience, they will want to, and please, this is after you have already passed your exams and have made the GMC online account and you're filling in your information. They will be like, oh, so if you have been working for the last 5 years, where did you work? In my case, for example, I have only had one clinical experience, which was the King's one. I'm going to put that. And for the rest, I'm going to put that I did my exams and I was not working in between the period of COVID for the last 6 months until I did my exams. So that's what I'm going to put. This is a quick slide. I just wanted to point out, this is also kind of answering the same question that was asked about the internship. We will be applying via the third point. So you have completed or accepted pattern of internship and have no other postgraduate clinical experience, and you're applying for full registration. This is what we will be applying. True. Okay, so we come to the exam itself. Before we move on to the exam, I just want to say that does anyone have any, is the voice okay? Is the sound okay? Is everyone following me?
Yeah, someone just commented in the chat saying yes.
Yeah,
I was just waiting for someone else to check too.
All right, that's fine. Okay, so coming to the exam directly. So PLAB has 2 exams, the PLAB 1 and PLAB 2. This will be this exam will be replaced by another exam, the UKMLA, and I'm pretty sure the academic team is going to have another seminar on that. So please look forward to that. The PLAB, the first one is an MCQ exam. So it's a before COVID, it was a 3-hour exam. Okay, and it had 180 questions. That meant you had 60 seconds for each question. Now, I think from what I've heard, it's 150 questions during COVID, and it's 2.5 hours. So you still have the 60 seconds per question. It's not an exam that in which the scores are of any value. You just need to pass the exam because you getting a job is totally dependent on your interviews and your CV. The exam is held 4 times a year. Before, I think 2 to 3 years before, it was only held 4 times a year in UK and twice a year in different places around the world. But over the last 2 years, they've made it 4 times a year across multiple locations in the world. Once you make your online account, you will be able to see the tiles, the details and everything on the left, as you can see in the picture here on the left. So you will go down to test bookings. Once you go into test bookings, you will be able to. Oh, sorry. Before that, you will have to put. You will have to enter your English language test. So your IELTS or your OET, you will have to upload a scanned document. That will take a day or two for them to verify. Once they verify it, you'll be able to move on to the test bookings. Once you go into the test booking, you will have this list. You'll be able to see PLAB 1 at all the different places, and you will just have to book. As you can see on the right, you book the exam, and then you prepare for the exam. Once the exam results are usually takes up to 4 weeks to come through. Once you get the results, you will go down to the test results, as you can see, and they will show you whether you passed or failed, and they will give you detailed descriptions on how you did in each section. So the exam itself, like I said, tests over 30 different specialties. So everything you kind of learned in med school 5th year and 6th year, doesn't really help. Well, it helps to some extent, but in the UK, like in uni, you learn a lot about more specific things, more specialty associated rigorous studying, because you in Europe you go into specialty training straight away. In the UK, they really try their hardest to test you on your basics, on the most common stuff, and how to actually incorporate it as a doctor. So you will have to rethink scenarios in terms of if you were a GP in F1, you're an FY2 in GP, or you were an FY2 in a surgical outpatient, or you were a FY2 and there is an ethical dilemma that happened on the ward, something like this. So you will have 30 different specialties, and you will have to go through all of them, learning the most common things and how they are treated, and multiple ethical scenarios and how to deal with those, and a few laws here and there, and that's what you will be tested on. So when preparing for PLAB 1, I kind of started. I thought I tried to start during 6th year, but it wasn't really possible. And then with graduation and everything, and time, like me just trying to take a break from 6th year, it was really hard to study. I did get some study sessions in, but it wasn't really effective. Then I started the placement. I tried studying during the placement, but if you actually do your placements really well, you will try to stick to actual working patterns. Maybe that's something you should try and emulate in 5th, 6th years as well. By that I mean I used to go to the hospital at I used to get up at 6, leave the house at 7, and be at the hospital quarter to 8, so that I could be there for handover, and then leave the hospital at 5:30, 6. Sometimes if I did long days, I would leave at 9 at night or 9:30 at night. I did 2 night shifts as well, so I had to change my sleeping patterns so that I could get accustomed to the shift. So you want to try and do that. So it wasn't really possible studying during the placement as well. So once I left the UK and I went to Saudi, and I stayed in Saudi for 2 months, I prepped during those 2 months properly. I started with the Plavable question bank. This is something you will see as well if you are a part of the Facebook PLAB group. There's a big Facebook PLAB group. People discuss questions on it. So I think that it would be really helpful if you guys join that, whoever does decide to give this exam. This is a question bank. It has like up to 2,000 questions. You need to try and finish it and then do it again. It has up to 9 mocks that are free. So you should try and do those mocks as well before your exam. Then, as I mentioned, there's another resource called PLAB1 Keys. This is a set of notes. It has a lot of high yield stuff, and it incorporates a lot of clinchers and mnemonics. Clinchers are key words and that you need to kind of look out for, keywords and phrases that you need to look out for in the stems of the questions while doing the questions, so that you don't spend 40 seconds just reading the question and then you don't have time to think about the question. Then you lose your 60 seconds and it doesn't really help. And then there's past medicine. So the exam has been getting tougher. I can say that because when I did the Plavable question bank and then I went for the exam, it was a bit different. And a lot of people said, oh, I think past medicine was better because it prepared them for more complex questions. So past medicine is used, as I've mentioned on this, for Royal College exams, which are the MRCP, MRCOG, MRCGP, these ones. Okay, and last but not least, the time management. Please be sure that you manage, like you practice doing these question banks every now and then on a time basis. Even if you're, so there's doing the mocks, and you do the mocks on a time basis, like in strict 3 hours or 2.5 hours, and make sure you are in a room, no one disturbs you, so on and so forth. But even during the questions itself, while you're casually just going through the question bank, try and do the question in 60 seconds. For example, if you read it, you're like, okay, I want to think about it, and then do it in 60 seconds. And then you can spend the rest of the time just reading through what explanations they have given. If any of you have kind of used what's that USMLE question bank, the UWorld, it's kind of like that, the Plabbable question bank, but not as detailed. The USMLE questions are a lot more harder. Okay. So PLAB2, I think I'm going to talk about this a bit more detail. I have a few people. I think there might be a few people who are giving this exam on this chat. I'm not sure, but if they are, so the PLAB2 is an OSCE exam. OSCE stands for Objective Structured Clinical Examination. It tests the same 30 different subject areas, including ethics. And before the COVID time, it was an 18 station examination with 2 rest stations in between. With social distancing measures, now it's 15 stations and there are 3 rest stations in between. You need to pass 11 out of 8 out of 18 previously. Now you need to pass 8 out of 15, so just above half. And for each station, you receive points. There are 3 domains that are tested on a station. Data gathering, that means taking a history and ordering examinations and ordering investigations and doing examinations. Then there's the interpersonal skills. That means how you respond to a patient, whether you really pressure them or so on and so forth. And management, that means what you think is going on, what is your diagnosis and differential diagnosis, and how you are showing via your investigations that you're thinking it is this scenario and what you're going to do. Sometimes it's not always important to actually treat the patient, but you have to address the patient concerns. That's what's really important in this exam. So as I mentioned, moving on, it's marked quantitatively and qualitatively. Quantitatively, that means it's the same points from these components that I was talking about. Qualitatively is that once you're done, now before the examiners is in the station watching you and seeing how you do your stuff. Now they, because of socially distance, the examiners are watching you through a camera. So they specifically look how you are, behaving, and whether or not you're asking certain things, and so on and so forth. So you will get marked on both these, and you will be able, the number of stations you pass will depend on one, how many points overall you receive, and what your qualitative results are. Again, time management is really important. So you go to the GMC building, there's only one center. Sorry, I cut off in regards to the time management. It's just I remembered this point right now, is that there's only one center in UK for PLAB2, which is in Manchester. So you have to go there and you have to go to the GMC building in Manchester. Once you go into the building, they make you wait until everyone is there who's giving the exam with you that day. Once everyone is there, they make you walk to a hall. That hall has like it's like an oval-shaped hall, and it has door after door after door of cubicles with examiners. Well, not this time, not now, at least in COVID, with either telephone consultation cubicles or cubicles with actors and examiners in some of them. That's why I said time management is important, because it's 8 minutes for you in each cubicle, and you have to do all of this: data gathering, interpersonal skill management, all of this in 8 minutes. And as soon as you hear the bell, the bell will say, time is over, please move on to the next station. you get out, move on to you thank whoever you're with, and then you move on and go to the next station. Once you're outside the station, you have 90 seconds to read the task. And what you have to do in the task, you go in and then you have 8 minutes inside the cubicle. And so on and so forth until you have finished all 15 stations. And this takes around 3 hours. So it's go, go, go. It's like just one after the other until you reach a rest station. Then you rest for 8 minutes and then you move on with the next bunch of stations. Okay. So it's intensive. It's intensive, and you can it might be a lot to take in, but it's all about practice. And I'm going to tell you how I did it and how a lot of people here do it. So how we do it. So over this COVID period, I kind of realized and have had ideas about whether or not I think some of these resources are helpful or not. So everyone will swear by going to a coaching academy to study for these, which statistically is true because the likelihood of you passing is higher if you go to a coaching academy. But you need to also understand the cohort is much bigger, so that's why the pass rate is much higher, because a lot of people are going to these academies. But I also know a lot of, not a lot, but quite a few people who have self-studied and passed these exams. That means they only got notes and used the notes to study and did the scripts, and then they paid for mocks at these academies and went in for the mocks and then went for the exam. Okay, so what I like over my experience over these few months is that I feel like it is doable even if you don't want to go to an academy. But the two things you definitely need the academy for is getting a chance to use their mannequins, even though they're not in any way close to how good or how the simulation in the exam itself is. Those mannequins are really good. Because you have to practice a lot of things for these OSCEs, including certain procedural skills like catheterization, IV cannulation, venipuncture, inguinoscrotal examination, how to do a cervical smear, how to do pap smear and endocervical smear, how to do otoscopy, how to do fundoscopy, and how to manage a patient while you're doing all of this. So these mannequins you will find at the academy. And also there is something called a SimMan, which is a simulation mannequin. Some academies have this, some don't, because in each examination you will have one SimMan, one simulation mannequin, which will be your one acute situation that you will have in the exam. In my exam, I had a guy who had AFib and he had pulmonary edema, so I had to manage the patient. So you will be able to use this in these simulated mannequins in these academies if they have them. But like I said, over the COVID situation, I know a lot of people have not had the ability to either use the mannequins or use the SimMans at these academies, because a lot of the academies over this time just resorted to online teaching. It was the same with my academy. I went to an academy in London. I started on 13th of March. I attended 6 days, and that's when the lockdown happened, and then they shut down the academy, and I had paid £600 for 15 days. And then 3 months later, he decided, okay, he's going to start online courses, and the online was just not good. It was not good at all. So ever since then, I've just been studying on my own with colleagues I met in the academy, and we have just been using their notes and their scripts. These, as I'm showing you on the link, I have a Google Drive that I've prepped. I'll be sharing that as well, so that all of you have these notes. They're notes from different academies. I don't want to go into academies right now. If you have any questions about the academies, you can hit me up on Insta, like I said. But these notes and these scripts, help you go through all the most common scenarios that are present. The most common websites that I have used throughout preparation F1 and PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 is the NHS website and Patient Info. Patient Info is the UK equivalent to Amboss or WebMD. Okay, it has all the UK guidelines. So yeah, so PLAB, just the last point I wanted to kind of bring up is that the PLAB preps you for an FY2 level entry into the NHS. Everything you're tested on is at an FY2 level. You need to make decisions. You need to make decisions about medication. You need to make decisions about what you're giving, what you're taking, and you need to know where your limit is. And that is what's tested, especially a lot more in PLAB 2. They test your medical knowledge in PLAB 1, and then they test whether you know that, okay, this is enough on my behalf in PLAB 2, and they test how you behave with the patient. I'm not sure if you've been to the PED seminars in uni, but some of the professors keep on saying it's not the patient that it's not the disease that we're treating or the symptoms that it's the patient that you're treating, and that's what PLAB 2 is about, you treating the patient. Okay. Okay, so yeah, now talking about the timelines. I already started with the UKFPO. I don't know if I put this. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, so there was there was a link I wanted to put. I forgot to put it on this. I have it on my notes here.
If you just send me the link, I can drop it in the chat.
Yes, I'll do that. Just give me a second. Sorry about this. Okay. Okay. How do I send it to you, please? On the. Can I just put it on the chat directly?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Yeah. Okay. There it is.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So this link is for the UKFPO, right? It has this timetable in it. So, like I said, you guys are able to apply now for the UKFPO. I had just recently, when I found out, I was like, should I apply? Should I not apply? I don't know how it will work with my plans. And then I decided, okay, let me just wing it and I'll try it. But I literally decided on the last day. It was the 2nd September, and I was filling out the form and everything. And but it is a huge form. It takes such a long time. And I wasn't able to send it in before the deadline, which was on the 2nd September. So you have, during your gap year, keep this date in mind, 20th July to 2nd September, when the eligibility window is open. Open the UKFPO website and send in your applications, and they will tell you whether or not you are eligible to apply for the UKFPO. And if that works out well and good, you will start giving the PLABs as well as the UKFPO exams, the SJTs and the CSA side by side. You will keep them informed that you're giving the PLABs, and you will have your registration by the time you have the interview, which will be the year following, somewhere in it should be on this somewhere. Second stage appeal, yeah, so there, January, initial AFP offers. Yeah, so around that time, by that time, you will have done at least 1 or 2, PLAB 1 or PLAB 2. So yeah, you would keep them up to date that you are getting your registration, and you need to have your registration by the time you start working, not necessarily by the time you have the job offer or by the time you go in for the interviews. Okay. Then in terms of how it will work with PLAB and standalone. So in your gap year, you take PLAB, take PLAB 1 in November. November is the best time to do it for you guys. I did it in March because, like I said, I did it in March the next year, not in the same year as me, because I had my clinical attachment. It was really hard to study, so that's why I did it in March the year after. So take your PLAB 1 in November if you're not doing any placement or anything of that sort. Apply for F2 standalone in Jan and Feb. Okay, during application, you might be asked whether you have a registration. Like I said, you just need to tell them that you have either done an exam or you have booked it or so on and so forth. And obviously you will have to make the application on OREL. So on OREL, they will ask you for IELTS or OET, and you need the 7.5 in each or 400 in each. Then you will book PLAB 2, which will be around the same time you will have the interview, or maybe before or after it. And this is the interview for standalone. You'll give the interview. Again, they will ask about the registration. You will say that I've either given the exam, waiting for the result, or I have booked the exam, and it's going to be in this time. Then, once you have both your PLABs, you will be able to get your registrations in May or June, depending on how long it'll take. Like I said, I don't know right now with COVID. And then you're free. The person who guided me in regards to PLAB and all of this, she was 2-3 years ahead of me. So she was able to finish her exams. She was able to finish PLAB 2 by May, and then she had May, June, July, August. So May, June, July. So she worked as an F1 F1 trust grade, locum F1 for those 3 months. Okay, and then she started F1 standalone, not F2 standalone. Like I said, F1 standalone is cancelled. She started F1 standalone in August. So, but in your case, if you are okay with going for F2 standalone, you will be able to start in August. And then during that May, August time, you can either relax or look for a trust grade F1 job. Okay, and PLAB and trust grade F1, trust grade job. So in case everything doesn't go as planned, like it didn't go for me, especially with COVID, my exams got cancelled. Especially my PLAB 2, because I had planned on giving my PLAB 2 in early July, then it got cancelled, and then I gave it in October. So I was not able to start in August this year. It's completely fine. Trust grade jobs are present all around throughout the year. So you can just focus on giving the exams and passing them as soon as you can. And then ideally, it's best to be done with them by July so that you can have the July to August time to register and then start giving interviews so that you can also start somewhere around August or October. Because starting with the new F1s is the best amount of time, because everyone knows that, okay, there's some kind of administrative issues, or in the hospitals, there's everyone is kind of more understanding, and it doesn't freak out people on your teams. But like I said, it's not a problem. Even if don't have a job by August, you can always apply for a trust grade F1 at any point, or trust grade F2 at any point, and then start working from that point onwards. You just make sure that, at least what I would recommend is, once you do get a job offer, make sure that you come in to talk to the HR and the team and your department and tell them that you'd like to shadow 2 weeks or a week before you start. It shows that you're interested, it shows that you're enthusiastic, and it shows that you know how to be a safe doctor, and you know your responsibilities, and you know that you have to do your job properly. Okay. So towards the end in this slide, I have something mentioned, which is the CREST form. The CREST form is a certificate of readiness to enter specialty training. This is something a lot of the IMGs use because, like I said, they come in somewhere in between. And if they're doing F2, they want to go into specialty training. A lot of the Actually, before I say this, I'll just say this, that a lot of the people who are in training have e-portfolios. Some people who are not in training still have e-portfolios, like the people from your years or your seniors who might have already started working in Swindon. these people have e-portfolios, even though their um, jobs are, I think, trust grade. I don't think they're training program posts. But they still have e-portfolios. If you're able to somehow talk your hospital into giving you e-portfolio, well and good. If not, you will most probably have to get the CREST form and get it signed off throughout the year, because you need your competencies and your assessments ticked off, so that by the end of the year, the academic year or the working year, which is July, then moving on in August, you need to have all of these. Then you can apply for the next step of training. So if you're starting off at a trust grade job as an F2 and you want to move on to ST training straight away or core training straight away, that means if you started F2 in November, December, you have just a few months to get all of this done. So you will have to really work hard to get it all done. If you don't, then you'll have to take an F3 and then do all of that. F3 is not an official year. It's just like an extra year people take. Some people do it to earn a lot of money. Some people do it to kind of take their time working and traveling. Some people just do it because they want more experience in a certain specialty. So yeah, you will have to do an F3 to do it. So if you're applying for F1, then you have more time to get your CREST form signed off to move on to specialty training then. Okay. All right. So we're coming towards the end. What do you do for your CV, especially once you start working this for an once you start applying for F1 or even F2 positions? I will not go into a lot of stuff, a lot of this, because I'm pretty sure you're going to have people who come to give lectures on how to get a job in the UK, and they will be European grads, you know, the British and so on and so forth. And they will talk to you about the audits, the workshops, the teaching, the CPDs, and the BLS. I'm going to talk to you about the electives and the clinical attachments as a foreigner. Because when so okay, so when I did my elective, I knew I wanted to do an elective in between 5th to 6th year. It was the internal medical one. So I started looking for electives in the beginning or somewhere towards the middle of 4th year. And it took me a lot of time, emails back and forth, rejections, my emails being ignored, until I think it was somewhere at the beginning of 5th year when I had a few emails that were like, okay, yeah, we can do something. What do you want? The place I applied through was through Newcastle University. It was an elective in a DGH, which is a District General Hospital in Newcastle. It was at Gateshead NHS Trust, Northside Keys in Newcastle. Beautiful place. I did it there. I did it for 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks. And I was in Newcastle for 2 months. And it was really helpful. You learn a lot, but it was my first elective, so I wasn't exactly sure what I needed to kind of learn, but I still learned a lot, and I picked up from that, especially in my King's elective attachment. So when working on electives, you need to make sure you have some flexibility. You need to approach it through 2 means. You need to approach it, one from the administrative or the elective office point of view, and then you need to approach it from the top, which means by getting a supervisor. My Newcastle University elective, even though I had a good response from the electives office, they said we can give you a space, but it'll be really hard getting you a supervisor, especially like after like 3 to 4 weeks of emails back and forth. They were like, no one's responding. So I had already sent out emails to multiple supervisors. I had even found them on LinkedIn and then sent them messages on LinkedIn until one of them finally was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. And then it kind of starts working from both ends until they meet up in the middle, and they're like, okay, we've sorted you out. Please just send us the documents. And the documents they ask for us usually something like this, give or take. It's a lot of stuff: the application form, the CV, your DPS, which is technically the police clearance there, your dean's letter, your English proficiency, liability insurance that actually took some time to get, a personal statement, your transcript from the student office, and sometimes immunization. Dean's letter, you can talk about dean's letter, the DBS, the personal statement you'll have to write yourself, and the official transcripts from the student office. All these three, the DBS, dean letter, and official transcript, the student's office will tell you how to get. Liability insurance, you will you can check a place called a website called Elective One Stop Shop. But there's another one. I can't remember it right now, but I'll update Tharan Preet on what it was called, because it was something some of my seniors sent to me. And once I look it up, I'll pass it along, and we will update you guys on what it was. So Elective's One Stop Shop, which is a cheaper one, and then there's a German one, and there was the other one that my seniors told me, and I will update you guys on both the other two as well. The other two are a bit more expensive. So you have to provide all of these. If they require immunizations, usually the occupational health at the hospital should be able to do it for you. But the best way to getting these electives, especially these official electives, is going to the university websites, finding out what hospitals are associated with the university. So the best way to do that would be to see which trust the university is working with, and then just go to the trust website and finding the hospitals, and then going to the hospital, and then finding the consultants. Okay. So like, as I say here, so find your supervisor directly on the hospital website. Use the search button on the top. As you can see there, this is a screenshot I took. I wrote consultant. We got the consultant thing there, because on the main homepage you will not find it there. Sometimes it's directly on the homepage, but sometimes it's not there. Then you'll find sometimes even after you get this find a consultant, you will find something like this. It will not have any email address, only these telephone numbers, which is not helpful. So what you can try is, you can just try putting in the email like this, the first name dot last name at nhs.net, and sending it out. Send out multiple emails. Like I would send out one to each of these guys if I had wanted an actor, right? I would send out one to all. And then I'd be like, I need an elective, please help me out. But other times you will find their emails on the websites as well. Okay, it's kind of this. Oh, there's a lot of whose mic is that? Sorry. Oh, okay. All right. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing for attachments, but a bit harder, because you don't have the university backing, right? It's been especially hard during COVID, because they're not taking in any clinical attaches at this point. I've been trying to look for something for some time, but there hasn't been anything. But it's the same process. You'll have to hit up the HR department, and then a consultant, and then work your way through. But in this case, there will be no university involved. You will not have to go to a university website, but instead go directly to a hospital website. You can go on Google Maps, check up a hospital, and then just click the website. And then from there, you just look for, anyway, it's like sometimes it will be like how to get involved, or contact us, or career options. Even in career options, all you need to find is an email for the HR department. once you have an HR department email, just email them. Okay. The paperwork takes time. When I did my clinical attachment at King's, because it was a surgical elective and and I was going to scrub in, I scrubbed in 2 to 3 times. They asked me to get immunizations, and that took a long time. I had to get my immunizations redone, and it took up to 6 weeks. And another thing is, once you start any of these processes, sometimes they just forget. So you need to call them again and again, send them emails again and again. That's how administration in the UK works. Okay. All right. Repeat, I can't seem to go on to the last slide.
I can just share the last slide. That might be easier if you can't go into it.
Yeah.
Is it not working?
No.
Okay. If we start doing questions, and I'll just upload it kind of at the same time.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I've had a couple of questions.
Okay.
Okay, wait, there's one in the chat. It says you can't do PLAB while you're at uni. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Another one I had was for locum or trust grade jobs, do we need to do PLAB, or can we apply for them before we sit PLAB?
No, you cannot apply for them until you have registration, and you won't have registration until you have PLAB.
Okay.
And just going back to, you can't do PLAB while in uni. Yes, you can't do it whilst in uni. So keep in mind, as soon as you're done with your last state exam, I went on to GMC website literally the day after, and I made my GMC account, because they will ask you a set of questions with dates, which is a bit confusing. It'll be like, when was the last day of uni? When did you get your graduation diploma? And when was your first day of uni? So you can only do that on that day, because if you try and make your GMC account before that day, it will not be possible. So you will do that on literally do it the day after you finish your last state exam. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, there's just a few. Oh yeah, there was one more. Do you need to take PLAB if you are a graduate of LF1 with non-UK passport but with UK work and living rights?
Okay, that's a good question. I cannot answer that question, because you will have to directly contact GMC about that, because they have a separate set of rules. If I remember correctly, that means you have what they called community something travel, right? Something like that. And I think they will still they will ask you a separate set of questions. And if you send the, just give me a second. I'm actually going to open the GMC website and find this. Okay, what's the next question?
The next question was, are there fees for the PLAB exams, and if so, how much are they?
Yes, so the first one is £275. The second one is £875. Okay. Sorry, the first one is £250, I think, not £275.
Okay. And which questions would you recommend before using which notes would you recommend before you use the QBanks?
So like I said, I had to end up making my own set of notes throughout PLAB, because a lot of the stuff we study at uni is way too complex, way too detailed, and kind of irrelevant a lot of the times, because that's all just science and medicine. This is more about being a doctor at every aspect, from communication to skills to understanding.
Okay.
So
And
you'll have to
sorry, with your G Drive link, if you send it to me, I can just link it onto the MEDSOC page so everyone can access those resources that you posted earlier. Someone
I
just
will do
asked me
that.
about it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Okay. Also, guys, I've just put a feedback link on the screen sharing. There's a QR code, and I'm going to put the feedback link in the chat. I know the link in the chat isn't working right now. I'm working on that. But if everyone could just fill the feedback link in, would be really great.
Yes, please do that. Really
Because
important.
it really helps Shaz as well. Also, your link isn't working because it requires a login. So if you want to just send me the document, I can put it on the MS Team. I think would be the best way.
Okay. I did not know that. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Someone has told me that some of the questions being posted in the chat aren't showing up. So if people want to just ask, or if you could message me privately, because I don't know where they're going. Nobody has any other questions? Oh no, someone does.
Okay, so I think we are getting responses for the.
Okay, perfect. Can you see the chat, or do you want me to read out the questions?
Just let me. Asians are there any specific cities that have a high demand in terms of F1? When do they expect you to have an HGD and CSA before applying for UK FPO? Okay, so I'll answer the first one in terms of cities that are high demand in terms of F1. So a good way to get a job is always make a good impression on your electives. If you're able to make a good impression on your electives and get your consultant to be your reference, you can always go back to them and ask or keep an eye out at these electives for F1 level jobs. And then once you give the interview, you know that you have you already have the exposure. It's kind of how a lot of the Swindon people got their jobs, because a lot of them did the Swindon summer intern elective thing that was set up, and then they went to Swindon and they got a job. Quite a few of them, from what I've heard. So it's kind of the same thing. In terms of demand, in terms of F1, there I don't know if there is like a statistics in terms of cities, but what I can tell you is that it's better to apply in smaller places because they have a higher demand of junior doctors to do the work compared to like big cities. Okay.
Sorry, can I just jump in here? In terms of high demand for F1s, I know London is very oversubscribed because everyone just wants to go to London. So it's always a good idea to go a little bit further out, and Scotland generally has a lot of availability, as does Ireland, as does Wales, sorry.
Yes, and keep in mind that there are different NHS jobs websites for all of them. There's NHS Wales, there's NHS England, NHS Scotland. So make sure you subscribe to all of those. Okay. Okay, and when do you expect to have done the SJT, okay, and the CSA before. So if you go to the timeline that I gave you, especially on this link I had posted above, the
I can
the
go
dates.
back to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what slide number it was?
Well, it should be right. It should be. Wait. I don't remember the slide number.
Oh, here we go. Here?
Oh, here
This
it
one?
is. Yeah. No, the one before.
There you go.
Yeah, this one. So if you look at this, the 9th November, 23rd November 2020. So this is 2020. This was for 2021 application. So people who will start working in August 2021 shows SJT online booking window. All right. And then 17th to 19th November, there's the clinical assessment. So these will be done on these dates. It doesn't, you will have to do it on these dates. You will have to manage working your PLAB dates along with doing the CSA on this date, and then the SJT test on the 7th to 19th December. Obviously, you will have to keep an eye out for, because this is a timetable for 2020 and starting 2021. If you're going 2021, 2022, you have to keep an eye out for the timetable that will be uploaded on the website.
Okay. Somebody else has just messaged me and they've said, I heard the British Home Office is only granting Tier 2 visas to students over 26 if their base salary is over 31k.
No,
is this true? And if yes,
yes.
how can we still get a visa?
Okay, so at the beginning, I had mentioned how all the jobs have been moved to the shortage occupation list. As soon as they were moved to shortage occupation list, that rule got just cancelled out. It doesn't matter because it's on the shortage occupation list, you can apply. And to fast track it, I told you that they removed the Tier 2 visa and they have included the health and care visa now, which is just give me a second. I will find health and care visa on the. Okay, so I'm just going to put the link. Can you please open this template? Okay.
Sure. Where's the link?
There.
Okay. Oh, well, I mean, can everyone just click on it?
Yeah, if everyone clicks on it, that's fine. So you will see the differences. The previous visa was expensive. Okay, now it's really cheap. Okay, the Tier 2 previously was very expensive, and the application would take up to 3 months before it would be processed. Now it takes less than 3 weeks. The cost is £230 before it used to be up to £600. And they also removed the IHS, which is the Immigration Health Surcharge, which is the fact that all the foreigners who are from outside Europe would have to come to the UK, and in their first application would have to pay up to £2,000 to £3,000 just to be able to use the NHS for personal like stuff. Like if you got sick and you needed to use the NHS, you'd have to pay £3,000 for the year to be able to use the NHS, and you'd have to pay this with the visa application upfront at the beginning. So people who would get in family members dependent on this visa. So if you were a family of 4 people, that doctor would have to pay £3,000 for each person in one go, which has been removed.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions? I think I've gone through the list that were messaged to me.
Okay, so for the person who was asking about what do you call it, the enforceable community rights, Just go on this website. A link here. You will be able to. It's like a tool that will tell you exactly where to go, and it'll tell you about what to do after the enforceable community rights. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have any others for now, unless anyone wants to jump in quickly.
Okay.
No? Okay. So I think we can call it a day.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any other questions, you can either put them back in this MS team, or you can directly message Shaz on Insta, and I'll be adding the link he put in the chat and the Google Drive documents to the MedSoc Resources Fair.
Yeah.
So
And,
thank you very much for doing this.
No, thank you and a big hand to you for organizing this and doing this. Just could I please ask everyone to do the feedback? It's really
Yeah, like
important.
for MedSoc as well, please.
Yeah, it's really important. We need to have this is something for our CVs, so I hope you guys can understand. Okay, and yeah, we will be. I will put up the Google Drive. The Google Drive has the resources for PLAB 1 and PLAB 2. It has the notes and the scripts from different academies and so on and so forth. It should be helpful. Obviously, I recommend you guys to make your own decisions as to whether or not you want to attend the academies or not. Keep in mind that it's a lot of money, £600 I paid. I didn't get any use from it. That's why I think I could have done it myself. So yeah. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I know.